guys, we're back. We're here to do Married at First Sight, season 17, episode 21. So this is after decision day, and we've got the women. They're all together, and they sitting around thinking. I know Claire's thinking that Cameron feels guilty, and Becca's waiting on an apology from Austin. And I don't know what Emily's waiting on from Brandon, because if he didn't give it to her during the marriage, then he sure ain't gonna give it to her after decision day. So, really don't know what that conversation's about, because I don't think that at this point that any of the men are feeling guilty, for what they've done. And we see later that Austin has called Becca, and his first concern was, I don't see why I couldn't be friends, with the producer. And she's like, dude, this whole time you've been screaming at me, not literally screaming, but he been talking about optics and how things are perceived and X, Y, and Z, and here you are, out here not thinking about any optics. And my thing is, Austin should have been at home. He should have been at home with Becca. And then on the after show, he said, after party, he said that she wanted to, she didn't want to go out. She just kind of wanted to be at home. And then he tried to make the point that she wanted to go back to her home and not the shared apartment. But they were moving out. This was decision day. Once decision day has happened, then it's time for you to move out. So they were supposed to have moved at Becca's apartment anyway, because Austin, has a roommate. So she barely said yes to him on decision day. So you got, how many hours after, they did decision day? Now you're out partying, with your friends and stuff, and your wife is at home. And Austin should have just either told her about it. He could have invited her, to go out. They could have went out and celebrated, with everybody for like an hour or so. He could have took her to dinner, and then they could have went, home. So there were just several things that, he could have done in this whole situation to not put himself in the divorce category. And the fact that, he's still trying to pull out excuses and, look like this sad, pathetic figure. I mean, yeah, I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that with you, Austin. Just letting you know. And apparently Becca ain't doing it with you either. So then we're looking at Michael and Chloe. They're at this animal sanctuary. And so that's when Chloe is letting us and him know that this is her dream. That she wants to rescue animals, especially senior animals. And she wants to have foster children. Now, I really can't criticize, her too much, because my family, has 80 acres, farmland, and I don't have any children. And apparently my dad says he's going to give me the whole 80 acres. So in order for this property to live on past me, this is what I actually planned, on doing. And I'm doing it with the mindset of foster children being able to chart their own path. They can either come out into the regular workspace, or they can use this property to develop business, for themselves, and not have to depend, on corporations and things like that in order to be able to, have a safe place, to live, be able to help other foster children, and have it, be a perpetual kind of sanctuary, for them as well. And so I really, understand that. Where I understand Michael is the fact that she wants 5 of them, 5 foster children that are like older and have behavioral issues. And then she wants, all these animals. And that is a lot of work. I mean, I'm even, it's like, I don't even know how I'm going to get this, together. So I could understand his hesitation, in this. And I hope that's something, that's not offensive, to Chloe. Because, it's just a big job. And what she is envisioning is just something that I think they need to work up to. I think that if she kind of presented it to him, in that fashion, it was something that probably he would be able, to get on board with. So we'll see, about that. And so where are we now? We are after the animal sanctuary. I think Becca is talking to her friend. Oh no, Becca and Claire. They are talking to each other because Becca's moving out. And so Claire says she already got her stuff packed in. She just threw it in trash bags and just kind of, threw her stuff in a car. And so Becca, is getting her stuff together. She decided to leave the fish. So then we see Emily. She's moving out. She's talking to a friend of hers. And a lot of people, were like, oh, she left the apartment a mess. You actually don't know how she left that apartment because they do things, for the camera. Like when they leave their wedding ring and their keys, she had to come back to come get that stuff. So her leaving the keys, that was just a staged moment, for the cameras. And then if you look at Austin, when he's talking to his roommate, later when he goes back home, the fish are there. The fish that Becca left in the apartment, she was like, oh, I don't know who's going to be your next mommy, but blah, 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 and I'm going to leave you. And then Austin actually ended up with the fish, in his apartment, even though he was supposed to have moved out, X days, before. So don't get hung up on production, you guys. It's really challenging, listening to other, people not take some of this stuff, into account. So Becca, let me see. Okay, so then Becca is helping Emily unpack her car. And Emily's apartment is nice. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. I mean, she's able to afford to be able to live in a nice place, without Brandon. So I think that he really missed the mark. If her whole thing with money was one of the things that, turned him off from her, that's him being very limited, in his thinking. And we all saw that, throughout the season. So Austin is confessing to his roommate that he lied to Becca about going out and all the whole thing, with the producer. And he's telling her that he talked to Becca and the conversation didn't go well. And the roommate is trying to be sympathetic, with him. But then she also is able to understand some of where Becca, is coming from too, especially when he told her that he lied about it. So then Brandon is playing pool, with his friend. And I like this friend bringing up the point that Brennan really, needs to, this may not be, the closure. Because when we hear on the after party that Emily, actually was out one night and she was, being flirted with this dude from Australia. She ended up kissing him. And Brennan, this was something that he didn't even talk about. So what was that about, Brandon? And I was listening to some of the other reviewers as well. Sometimes you just have to cause, situations. I don't know why he keeps saying that he was trying to protect her when, if this is something that he found out, we don't know when in the season, this happened. I suspect that it happened later in the season. And I remember when they were going to that last retreat, that Emily was really just real laid back, about it. She wasn't looking for the retreat to bring them closer together. It was only after that accident that the whole dynamic, kind of switched around. And the way Brandon was acting, I knew that accident wasn't going to bring him closer, to her. But I guess she didn't know that, at the time. So I don't know when all of this happened, but I mean, I'm really disappointed, that Emily, took this opportunity to go and do something, so childish. That is not like a mature move. If you're not happy, in your relationship with Brandon, pack your stuff up, girl, and go home. It's that simple. And then you can go out to the bar and do anything you want to. And it's like with Austin, if you want to hang out with your friends, if you want to go out with the producer, if you want to, do whatever, don't sit up and say yes on decision day and then, act like, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. You just sound just like a Neanderthal at that point. So anyway, I'm not going to spend any time talking about Brandon, his feelings, or his thoughts. So we're looking at Michael and Chloe. They're on a date. and they're pretty, intimate and all that, with each other, which I thought was cool. And so Michael is letting her know there that, he doesn't mind the whole idea of an animal sanctuary, but the amount of animals that she wants could be a problem. He doesn't mind fostering children, but the amount of children is a problem. And I kind of got, with him and then some of the other people, were trying to say, she, after being with him for like what, a week at the honeymoon, or no, they didn't even have a whole week at the honeymoon, I don't think. But with the honeymoon and the retreat and the wedding and all of that, she wanted to take a break. So when you get these kids, do you really think that you're going to be able to take a break, from them? You want 5 kids that have behavioral issues. And when it starts to become too much, then where are you going to go, Chloe? You're going to go to a hotel room, for a few days and then come back recharged while Michael is sitting there with the animals, and the kids. So, yeah, I don't know, what this whole conversation, is going. And I hope that's something that wasn't offensive, to her, because it just didn't make any, sense, to me either, after a certain point, of like 5 at a time. So Brennan and Becca, they're talking to their friend. She's talking to her friend on the phone. And she's letting her friend know she's behind on making some payments, I guess rent payments or something, on the business or whatever, for materials and stuff, that they go in half on. And so the friend was like, yeah, I didn't anticipate that you were going to be with somebody that needed this much time from you. But this is a certain kind of marriage. This is not like, y'all were dating and you was doing the business and then you got married and then he just sucked all away your time. This is a person that's brand new. You only have 8 weeks to figure out, what direction, you guys are going to go in. So, yeah, she did need to actually put that kind of energy into it so that she can say, I gave, what I could, to the situation. And if it worked, then good. And then now we can reset, to another phase, in this marriage. But if it didn't, then I still gave, what I had, for the experiment. And so Austin is talking to his friends and he's telling them, that he made some serious, mistakes. And like I said, it sounded like a wounded cow when, you put yourself, in this situation. I don't think that he brought everything, to this that he could have. So then we're looking at Orion and Lauren. And I really am tired of looking at him. I wish he was better. That now that he's, trying to approach her in a sensible, manner, to give her that opportunity to say, do I actually want to give you a second chance? I don't think that Lauren is going to give him a second chance just based on what I've seen from her from the after party episodes that she's been on. And I liked that she was saying to him that I may need to actually just use, if I'm going to use energy on that, I would rather use it on a situation that would be more beneficial. I don't know how beneficial it'll be for me to go back and revisit something that may not, deserve for me to be giving it, that level of time, and attention. And if I was Lauren, I actually would have been offended, to tell you the truth. I mean, this joker, she told him at the honeymoon that she was feeling closer, to him, and that they actually could start, thinking about, their intimacy. And then when she was disclosing, her history, he actually took offense at it, like she was some kind of slut. And he just did not want to put his precious penis, anywhere near her because he valued his body, more than that. And now he's telling her, that he wants to make sure that they have closure. And, she's asking him, oh, so you're saying that you want to be more than friends. And see, that's insulting. So you're not good enough. I'm not good enough to be your wife, but I'm good enough to be your F buddy, and for you to, get your rocks and stuff off. And I don't even know what is going on, with men. They really lack finesse. They lack respect. I know I haven't been able to get any respect out of them. And when I was looking at that, it kind of reminds me, of a situation, that I was in. And, I knew this person and, I was like, oh, well, let's get together. So I'm thinking we're just going to get together, chill and have a good time. Next thing you know, I'm over there. He's just trying to put his tongue down my throat. No food, no music, no ambiance, no nothing. Joker wasn't even dressed, sitting up in his pajamas, and stuff. And then you want me to, and we didn't even have a conversation like that. It wasn't even, I didn't even know he was looking at me, in that kind of a way. Next thing you know, we're here. And it was just really ridiculous. I ended up having to tell him, I'm like, dude, this is not it. You can't even do anything to try to help get a person in the mood. Person is just supposed to be immediately, from 0 to 60, you're at 60 miles an hour, I'm at 0, and I'm already supposed to be at 60, with you. Just really, poor, just no game, no respect. It was just really, it was something. And it kind of reminded me of Orion, now. Can we be more than friends? No, man. No. You lucky that you're getting this amount of energy out of me. And now you want something else? I wouldn't, you wanted to get out of the marriage 10 days in. You didn't even give us a chance to go through the process. And then now here you are talking about you want to be more than friends. Boy, you better go ahead. I'm not doing that. I don't know what is going on in the minds of men, but you guys can't have it both ways. You can't, want women, for sex, and then you with a woman and she's doing her sexual, living and doing her sexual lifestyle, and then you want to sit up and judge her, at the same time, for it. You can't have it, both ways. And it really is disgusting, when, like I said, I would have been deeply offended. I don't know if I would have told him that, on television, but inside, I definitely would have been offended. So then we've got Michael. We've got Michael and Cameron. They're on the phone. And I don't know how I feel about Cameron. He's upset with Claire because on the last episode, he was saying that she was accusing him of trying to manipulate their conversations, like I guess on camera and with the experts, and they had this whole plan to lie about their marriage, to us. So he said he was cool, with that on the after party. But then when it came time for him to lie about his conversation, with Brennan for the sake of Emily, he said that he wasn't willing to lie to break up or be involved in somebody's, marriage. But my thing is, how did Brennan find out that Emily had kissed this Australian dude, or made out, whatever made out, means? How did Brennan find out about the Australian dude? Okay, I'm sure none of the women told him. So if Cameron went back and told Brennan about the Australian dude, then how is he mad with Claire about her going back to talk about the whole double date, situation? So did Claire turn it around, trying to make Brennan look like he was the bad guy in the situation and misconstrued Cameron's words? Or did Cameron not explain it, right the way that it happened? I don't understand this, because it's just too much lying and too much subterfuge going on for me to be invested in whether Claire's telling the truth or whether Cameron is telling the truth. I'm just an observer at this point, and I don't put one ahead of the other in my estimation, of them. I'm very disappointed about all of these these lies that's going on. So I hope you guys have had an opportunity to go and look at the after show, because that was just it was really insane. It was really, really, really crazy. So where are we? And Cameron is explaining to Michael his rationale about how he would approach decision day. And he told Michael that he's not envious that he's in this position, and that he himself is really glad that he's getting a divorce, from Claire. He doesn't really want to have any further relationship, with her. He's not interested in being her friend. He's just done. He's throwing up deuces, to Claire. And I get it, Claire seemed like she was a lot. So I understand why, at this point in the process, he probably sees her as, like, he called her a hypocrite. Basically, he called her a hypocrite. And yeah, I mean, you don't want to waste your time, with that kind of person. And so Becca, Michael and Chloe go on their month anniversary date, and they went to a beer spa where she said on the after show that it was like a tub of beer that they were sitting in. And so they were having a conversation. And at this point, I started to become really disappointed, in Michael, because when she asked him about, well, decision day, was tomorrow, one thing I did mind him saying is that he would still need, some more information. I don't think she liked the way that he said it, because it seems like she was a little deflated. I think she was expecting him to have a more positive feedback, for that situation, because they've only known each other for like 4 weeks, and it's a lot to go through, especially when you're around the other couples who are not getting along, with each other. It could give you, opportunities to doubt. And then she's talking about this animal sanctuary and all these kids, that she wants, and I want to know, well, what does Michael want? I don't think I've heard him say back to her what his idea of marriage and a future, would actually look like. And then how they could take those two visions and actually bring them, together. So I was a little disappointed. He sounded more like a dude, especially the way that he did them shorts too. He just kind of wrung a little water out of them and just threw wet shorts, on the floor. It wasn't romantic. And I think that this conversation that they're having and that they're gonna have, with Dr. Pia, kind of made me a little more, disappointed, with him and his conversation. So we'll see. Where are we now? So Becca and somebody. Who is she talking to? I don't know. Look at YouTube again. Oh my God. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Oh, okay. So this is with Becca and Emily. They go to the Aura, place. I've actually had that done before. It's pretty cool. And then you look and see, mine was more purple and blues and greens. And theirs were more orange and reds. So yeah, I thought that for them, they're really using their bonding, experience to try to get through this, together. So, I mean, whether you believe in it, or not, it's just information. That's the way, that I took it. So we're looking at Dr. Pia talking to Chloe and Michael. And Chloe, just before Dr. Pia came into the door, they showed her on the outtake, and she said that where she was in the whole getting ready to have a session with Dr. Pia is that she was a little disappointed because she thought that she and Michael were actually on the same page, and now she's having doubts. I don't know if his doubts are causing her to have doubts, but she's disappointed because she thought that they actually were more in sync, with where she thought that they were, in a relationship than, I guess, what he's telling her, of where he's at. And so they're talking to Dr. Pia, and she's asking them, she finds out that Michael's mom doesn't know that he's married. And so Chloe steps in and tells her before she starts going in on Michael that that's something that she actually encourages because she doesn't want to unnecessarily add stress to a stressful, situation. So if he wants to wait until after decision day to have this conversation with his mom, then she's cool, with that. So then Dr. Pia was asking them about their living situation, and that's kind of like where I see some of the problem is because Michael wants to keep it more casual and less intentional. And so I think Chloe, on one hand, kind of wants to just go along with that. But then we see on the next episode, if you go look at the sneak peek, she's going to tell him that, yeah, we're going to, stay married, then we're going to have to move in, with each other. So if she was feeling one way when they were talking to Dr. Pia, then she changed her mind to something definite by the time we see them, on the next episode. And I also thought that Dr. Pia kind of posted them up and saying that the answers that they were giving her were like something, maybe she felt like it was more rehearsed, and she's wondering and she's asking them, is this something that you're doing, for the cameras? Because if that's something that you're doing, that's cool, but just make sure that you're actually talking about real stuff, with each other. You're not glossing over, real issues and real situations that you guys, need to be talking about. And Chloe said that no, as far as where she's coming from, she's being real and raw, and she's showing up as who she is. She's not hiding anything, and she's not obfuscating. This is Chloe, live and in color, and you either take it, or leave it. And she's not doing it because she's concerned about what other people, think about her. And I can't remember what Michael said, but yeah, so that's just kind of where we are. He's really starting to sound like, his feet, started to get cold. So yeah, we look at the after party. Chloe was kind of really sounding the same way, on the after party. And she and the host, Rudy, were really in sync with each other about the animal sanctuary, because Rudy and her husband were saying that they actually live on a farm, and he has to have these kind of conversations with her because she wants to do these projects that may not be on his radar. But then she said that I think her husband's name is Brad, but she said that Brad gives her latitude to make, these kind of decisions, for like the farm. And he said that for him, it's really easier, for him if he doesn't sit up and fight, with her about something that she's really, keen on doing. And so we listened to Austin, and I didn't like the way that he explained that night when she asked him, somebody asked him, did he invite Becca? I didn't like his answer. I don't think that Becca was invited. I don't think she knew anything about what was going on. And the call that she got from Claire was the notification that Austin was out doing stuff. So I would like to hear more from them about that. And I think the way that Becca was explaining it was that when she got the call from Claire, the way that it was in her mind, she wanted to have the conversation, because they asked her, well, why didn't you have the conversation with him in private? And she said that she didn't want to have the conversation with him in private because she had a feeling that he wasn't going to tell the truth about it. And she wanted to be able to have that backup in case he did try, to lie about it. And it just wasn't going to be her against him. It was going to be people, you got what? 6 pair of eyes is looking at him, and they all agreeing on what they're looking at. She wasn't there, so she wanted to be able to have that level of support in case, you know, he was going to try to snow her, which obviously he did. Knowing good and well that he's on camera and that there were other people. Brennan, if you go back and you look at that video, Brennan just looked and started shaking his head. He didn't have nothing to say. And he was there, you know, as well. So he managed to stay out of it, which I actually thought was smart. So you got Cameron and Claire that's running around telling all this stuff about what other people are doing instead of just minding their own business and just kind of letting it go, you know, at that. So it's just, I don't know. So then she had, who was it? Chloe and Austin on one half of the episode, and then she had Becca and Cameron on the other half of the episode. And when Cameron started spilling tea about Claire and about Emily's shenanigans with the Australian, Becca looked like she wanted to jump over and choke him to death. Rudy asked her, she was like, okay, what is she talking about? Claire cheated? And it took Becca a minute. She was looking at him like, no, you didn't just bring all of this, you know, out in front of everybody. And Cameron looked like he gave less than a damn. Whether she was mad about it, whether Claire was going to be mad about it, or how Emily, you know, was going to feel about it. Because he said that he was talking to Claire, he was begging her to stay out of it because Emily was going to be the one that was going to, in his mind, that was going to look the worst in the situation. And he said that Claire said that, well, cheaters are going to get what's coming to them. And I don't know if she was actually talking about Brennan, or whether she was talking about Emily, or whether she was talking about both of them. Because according to Becca, Emily saw Brennan's iPad or something, and she saw messages, you know, from other women. They didn't say whether or not he was actually responding back to the messages. I'd like to hear that part, you know, of it. So I don't know if she's considering Brennan being a cheater, or Emily. But in Cameron's eyes, he doesn't think that what she was saying is showing that much, that friendship for Emily that he would expect, you know, for Claire to have. So it's just, you know, a lot of he said, she said, but they would talk about the text messages, and he said that Becca, the text message that she's referencing, he doesn't believe that she has them in chronological order, the way that the conversation, you know, was going. So, like I said, I hope that we see something that's going on in the reunion. And I don't know how many more episodes, you know, we have before that actually happens. I wanted to make sure that I put up that whole after show, because when I was listening to some of the other reviewers, they were adding in things like, you know, they were saying that Becca said that Emily was drunk, you know, when she was kissing the Australian. That's not what Becca, you know, said. So, excuse me. And then there were other, you know, things that people either left out or added in. I don't know if you guys know about this game called Telephone, but when we were in school, we played it. And somebody would have a message, and they would give the message. They would whisper the message in the first person's ear. And then by the time everybody whispered that message, you know, around the room, by the time it got to the last person, the message wasn't the same at the end of the person, the last person to say the message, that it was when the first person actually said the message. So that's what happens, you know, it gets diluted. You know, like when Cameron is talking to Claire about the whole double date, you know, situation. That's just two people. So whatever Cameron said to Claire, Claire took it and went and told Emily, you know, something else. And that's just, it doesn't even go around the room. So I understand a lot of people are having problems with Emily being a therapist and then not being able to have good documented conversation about who said what and when. And then for her to be offering up, you know, information where she doesn't even have all the facts, you know, herself. She could have, you know, just ask Brennan, you know, if you that nosy and you want to know, why don't you ask him and talk to him and Cameron, you know, together. And then tell Brennan, this is something that you actually need to have a conversation, with Emily about. And if you don't, then I actually will go and say something, to her. Just try and get more information and be more precise about what you're saying before you go and blow up, somebody else's, relationship when you may not even be clear about what's being said and the context, in which the conversation, is happening. So yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed, the information that's down there. I really appreciate all the new subscribers. Thank you for your time and attention. And this is going to be the end of my review for this episode 21, season 17. And I will talk to you guys, on the next video. Take care.